some point, everyone asks the same question. Why am I here? At some point in life, everything slows down long enough for the question to surface. Why am I here? Not what do I do, not what do I own, but who am I becoming? We wake up, we move, we exist. But without a reason, we're only passing time, not building a life. Purpose is what gives meaning to the struggle. It's the difference between surviving the day and standing up for something greater than yourself. Without purpose, there is no point for us to be living on this earth at all. When purpose is missing, confusion takes its place. Distraction feels like direction. Motion replaces progress. But when you find your purpose, everything changes. Your pain starts to make sense. Your story gains weight. Your actions begin to matter. Purpose is not about perfection. It's about intention. It's about knowing why you keep going, even when no one is watching. Without purpose, life feels empty. With it, even the hardest moments have value. Purpose isn't something you stumble into. Neither is it a final destination in life. Purpose is built through choices made daily, through consistency, through service, through becoming the kind of person the mission actually requires. This is the work behind the calling, built with intention, lived on purpose. So the question isn't, what do you want to do? It's, why are you here? Because when you find your purpose, you don't just live, you live on purpose.
Hello everyone. Hello. How are you doing? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BRINK SUMMIT. Before we get straight into business, I would like to ask something. I want to make a quick decision, so I need you guys to help me out. Sorry. Alright. I need you guys to help me out. So I've been in the United States for a little over 2 years, and one of the things that I've noticed personally is that in March we have March Madness, right? So, alright, so specifically in North Carolina, it's like during March Madness there are two types of people. We have those who support Duke and those who support Carolina Tar Heels, right? So I want to make a decision. Something that I've learned in life is that you don't want to be in the middle, right? So I want to make a decision. Which side should I pick? Should I select Duke or Carolina? Can anyone help me out? Alright. It seems this is getting out of hand, so we have to postpone it to another time. I'll make the decision, but yeah. My name is Godbless. I'm the founder of BRINK Global. How many of us know about BRINK? Awesome. We have a lot of work to do. So, BRINK Global is a non-profit organization which I started a few months ago. Our aim is so simple, to help young people, specifically high school through college, discover and lead purposeful lives. Growing up, just like every other child, I asked a lot of questions, and specifically, these were why questions. So I asked, why are we doing this? Why that? Why this? Why that? But I remember vividly one day I broke down in tears when I asked my mom a particular question. And the answer that she gave me wasn't really satisfactory in my opinion, right? So here's the question. I said, Mom, why are we here on earth if we are all going to die anyway? I repeat, this is the question I asked my mom. I was like, why are we all on this little rock called planet Earth if at the end of the day we are all going to perish? And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's the point I started my journey of purpose. right? From that day, I kept on asking more questions, and then I came to the same conclusion that one of my mentors, Dr. Miles came to, which is that anytime the purpose of a thing is not fully discerned or discovered, that thing tends to be abused, right? So we've seen it in our global environment today that when people get into positions of power and they don't know the purpose of power, they tend to use power for selfish gains and abuse power, right? The same thing, something in our generation so common like social media, which is supposed to connect individuals. Something simple like that, where we are supposed to connect with each other. When people don't know the purpose of that thing, they tend to, use it to spread hate and bigotry and, misinformation and all that. On the flip side, you realize that whenever purpose is discovered, society tends to flourish, right? So all across history, we've seen in the best civilizations, the greatest institutions and organizations that have been made by men or to accomplish a particular thing were the ones that had a definite purpose attached to it, right? And so that led me to a particular point where I realized that you and I know that at the foundation of everything that we do on this earth or in the universe at large, human beings are the core. So you and I need to find our particular purpose because life is so important. In fact, life is so beautiful and important that the founding fathers of this great country made laws to protect life, right? So it shows that first, life is important and worthwhile. Second, the purpose of life is also worthwhile, right? So as an organization, our goal is simple: to help young people, no matter who you are, where you come from, what you believe in, who you believe in, or even if you don't believe in anything, realize that number one, your life is important, and number two, your life has a definite purpose. You were not born on this earth to, do everything, but you were brought on this earth to fulfill a particular purpose. Next slide. All right, so as an organization, this task that I just explained, it's not something I can do on my own, right? I need you guys to support me. So one of the ways that you can help support us is, following our pages across all social media platforms. So you can find us on Twitter or X or YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, just by searching BRINK with Godbless. BRINK with Godbless. That's like our platform or the name that we use. All right, still talking about support. I don't want to keep on ranting. Still talking about support, some of the people, or one of the people who has been a great support structure for me in my short journey here at Untitled is our first keynote speaker, right? In fact, he's supposed to be having a licensing event today, but he canceled that event just to come speak at this licensing, right? So ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our first keynote speaker, the chaplain of this institution, Dr. Sammons.
It might sound like a contradiction to say I had plans for my life, a little sense of my life's purpose, but that's a distinction that I want to underscore and put in italics for us tonight. Plans do not equal purpose. Let me tell you what my plans looked like at first. So, in high school, I thought a lot about what college I wanted to attend, but I didn't think much about what I wanted to do with my life until I was in college. Didn't have an answer for adults asking when I was a kid. It was the matter of declaring a major that kind of got the ball rolling for me in that direction. And even then, my thinking was very in the moment. It was, what do I most enjoy here? Which classes are my favorites? How do I want to spend my time now? English turned out to be my answer to those questions, were really conversations about stories. I'll come back to that later, probably. And when those questions did shift to begin to include career, I basically just thought, I really like school. I know that makes me a total weirdo, but could I just keep doing this forever? And so grad school and a faculty career presented themselves as the way forward. And I'm not here to tell you that any of this thinking or low-key planning was bad. I was paying attention to what I loved, what I enjoyed, and I believe that's a vital dimension of discerning our purpose or our calling. But at this point, I was mostly making plans without much sense of what I now recognize as purpose. So that began to change a little bit when one summer in college I did an internship at a community-based ministry in New Orleans' 9th Ward. And this was a few years before Hurricane Katrina decimated the city, and particularly that area, in 2005. And this Christian ministry where I was working, and look, I'm going to speak out of my faith, but find the language that works for you as I talk. This Christian ministry where I worked, but mostly learned, it went to great lengths to show me that God holds the suffering and the marginalized close to his heart in a unique way. In God's economy, the first are last, and the last are first. But this truth had been missing from the version of faith that I was raised in. And because that faith was fundamental to my whole sense of myself and the world, this new revelation about God's priorities, it blew up my life. Suddenly something that I hadn't cared much about, and frankly made plans to avoid, was raised to the top of the list of things that I should care about, that should really matter to me. And I wondered if this whole English professor plan was still viable. Does teaching literature have anything to do with justice for the oppressed? This was a time in my life when I could have really, really used a wise old counselor who understood what I loved and what I believed and what I feared to help me reckon with this earthquake I just experienced, to sort through the rubble and understand what endured and what needed rebuilding and how those things related to one another. But I didn't have that. And I cobbled together a sense that if I studied the right kind of literature, stories about the poor and excluded, I could reconcile my desire and my duty. It was a cardboard and duct tape kind of job. But I should know that this internship got me thinking about purpose, not in a particularly individualized sense, but in a collective one. God meant for the church to be and do something specific in the world, and I was a member of the church, so I was meant to participate in that purpose. This is how my thinking ran. Now, again, my thinking about this was clumsy, but it was growth to begin understanding my life's purpose in connection with others, with community, with the world. The question of purpose, it turned out, could not be answered simply by resolving the matter of what I wanted to do. The question of purpose needed a dialogue between desire and duty, between my needs and my neighbors. And as yet, I didn't know how to enter into that conversation. So I plowed ahead in my improvised literature for liberation furrow, and I held that course for a long time, through a PhD and several years of faculty service. But something was missing. The soil It's when I recognized that my plans had led me into a wall, that a deeper exploration of purpose became possible. Not just what do I enjoy, and not just what are Christians called to, but what am I designed for? Where do my loves harmonize and resonate with God's purposes in the world? In what ways does my own coming alive contribute to the world's flourishing, and vice versa? Or, as Frederick Buechner famously put it, where does my deep gladness meet the world's deep need? Well, I found 3 answers to those questions, 3 activities that I've come to understand as my calling. They are conversation, curation, and composition. And I'm going to cut some of what I had written for the sake of time. I'm happy to have a conversation later if anybody's interested in kind of the shape of that. But I'll say I'm extraordinarily grateful that my new work as an engaged chaplain involves me in all 3 of those activities constantly. I sit and listen and talk and dwell with people. I build syllabi, lyceum series, and chapel programs, and a whole range of structures in hopes of nourishing our shared spiritual life. And I write more than I ever have before. But here's the thing. If my job went away tomorrow, and with it every university chaplaincy in the world, I would still have a calling. I would have a well-defined sense of purpose moving me into the next season, whatever that was. Because when I think about your purpose and mine, here's the foundational belief that I rest on. There is a life that wants to be lived in you. It is already at work in you, and it is bigger than you. It is good and surprising and profoundly personal, and even when it's costly, it inclines to joy. I believe that's the life of God. You may find different language, but it is a current of energy that you and I don't create, a river we never set in motion. We can try switching it off or damming it up, but it wants to flow. And we are most alive, and our communities most thrive when we open ourselves to its power. But to do so requires that we suspend our engineering efforts, that we press pause on our plans, and listen to the hum in our souls, the gurgle of water in our spirits. Parker Palmer has said, quote, "Before I can tell my life what I want to do it, I must listen to my life telling me who I am." Indeed. When we stop designing our lives, we can discover the thrilling design that's been long unfolding. And I just want to acknowledge, we usually don't suspend our plans until we have to, until something painful stops us in our tracks. That's been true for me. It's a hard way to learn, but it's often the way of things. And so I just want to say, if your plans have come undone and you are suffering, I am sorry. I and others, like our counselors, for example, are on this campus to walk with you in that difficult place. And for those who don't currently find yourselves in the rubble of your plans, but who may one day, I want to tell you, it won't mean your story is over. Godbless has constructed BRINK, in fact, from a conviction that fresh beginnings, new life, often mysteriously present themselves in exactly those dark moments. And he's right. So just as you listen for purpose in the quiet and peaceful spaces of your life, I'd encourage you to listen for it in hardship as well. But, and here's another lesson I've learned, listen with others. Composition wasn't on the list of activities I felt called to before my best friend suggested that it should be. And he was absolutely correct. And I would say that while a sense of purpose or calling may arise in solitude, it might be an inward epiphany, all human purpose unfolds in the context of community. Our lives are for one another, and the discovery and the living of purpose depend on our connectedness to each other. So I'm not sure if we're still going to have time for And like any one of those human relationships, it will surprise. It's going to surprise, like any one of those relationships, so stay open and flexible. And finally, understand that purpose and calling are not only a what, but a how. A couple of months ago, I found my heart turning cartwheels in my chest on a daily basis for long stretches of time. I dealt with palpitations before, and my cardiologist told me that even these far more frequent ones were nothing to worry about, but they were super unpleasant. And I came to recognize that they arose from walking out my calling in a highly anxious, highly stressed manner. And so, in fact, I wasn't walking out my calling, because that purpose is not only to engage in certain activities, it's to come fully alive in and for my community. So good and worthwhile ends don't justify unhealthy means. Again, discovering and living purpose is not about striving. It's about resting in a current that energizes and nourishes us for our delight and for the good of the world. So relax. The life that wants to live in you is not a homework assignment or an athletic drill. It's an invitation to a big communal feast. And I wish us all bon appetit.
Alright, that was so powerful. When Dr. Sammons mentioned conversation, it took me back to the time I had a conversation with him because I was taking a class with him. And it started very casually, where we would be just talking about things in class, and then it translated to the idea of, starting BRINK and also bringing this summit to fruition. And so, healthy conversations, honestly, as I said, can take you a long way in helping you discover and live your purpose. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Sammons. Before the second keynote speaker comes in, I want us to switch lanes a little bit. So I would like to invite our panel here so that we have a quick conversation. Can you give a round of applause to them as we go? Unfortunately, our third panelist, beautiful. Give them another one of applause.
Hello.
All right. First of all, thank you guys so much for doing this. Okay, so to begin with, I want you guys to give a quick introduction of yourselves from this side to our last person. Who you are, what you do, and a quick info about your background.
Alright, well, hey everyone, my name is Nia. I'm a business management student here on campus. I'm the president of Rotaract and Alpha, and my favorite color is blue. A fun fact about me is I carry candy everywhere I go, and what was your other? No?
It's okay.
Alright, thank you.
Since your favorite color is blue, welcome. All right.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is I'm a resident director here at Wheaton University. I'm over James Smith, an alumni, if anyone's here from that area. I'm currently a sports management master's student and I'm hoping to go to law school afterwards. A fun fact about me is I took Korean in high school, so that's what they offered, so I still speak.
Awesome. How do you say BRINK in Korean?
Because in English word, it would be a loan word, so it would be good.
Wow. Good. All right. So, last gentleman.
name is Yem. I'm originally from Cameroon, South Africa. I came to the US in 2006 on a full scholarship to play soccer and to study here at BRINK University. So I'm not alone. I did my undergraduate here, followed by an MBA. And after completing my MBA, I couldn't find a job for 6 months, so I came back running to Wingate, begging for a job. I was offered a graduate assistantship, and as luck would have it, the VP who gave me the graduate assistantship became the president of the university 6 months into that role. And that's how my career started. So I worked for the university for about 6 years, and then in 2020, I left to start a brand new marketing agency. I met my wife here. I was engaged about 12 years ago. 8 years ago, we got married, and 2.5 years ago, we welcomed our first child. A beautiful young girl and mentor. And I'm glad to be back, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Wow, that's beautiful. You got your undergrad, MBA, your wife, everything from me. That's powerful.
And that's just a fraction of what I will disclose.
Wow. Alright, looking forward to what we get to offer. Okay, so let's go straight to the conversation, guys. So at BRINK, one of the things that we consider so much is something that I call BRINK moments, right? So BRINK moments are like tough moments in your lives. So throughout your college journey here at Wingate, starting from junior, can you share the BRINK moments that you've had and what did you learn from it?
Whenever I reflect on this question, I think the first thing that it highlights is how fortunate I've been. Because the things that I can come up with seem trivial when you think about the hardship and the challenges that some people have had. But the thing that usually stick out for me is not necessarily undergrad, but postgrad. When I graduated my MBA, I graduated with a sense of expectation about the kind of doors that an MBA will open for me. And 6 months after my MBA, I was getting rejected for every single job I had this opportunity to apply for. And it doesn't seem like much, but 6 months of hearing no on a daily basis, your savings are dwindling. And the story that I was telling myself at the time is that surely I was being discriminated against, because it didn't make sense that somebody with an MBA would have such a hard time finding a job. So my story was that surely I was being discriminated, either on the basis of my immigration status, because it was a little harder for a company to hire me, they would have to sponsor me, or maybe on the basis of the color of my skin. And that was the story I was carrying for those 6 months, until one day, sitting on my couch and holding my daily pity party, a new voice emerged in my head. And at first it was a whisper, and the whisper was, "You're not good enough." And I couldn't hear it at first, so the voice said it louder. Maybe you are not good enough. If you are as good as you think you are, maybe companies will go through the trouble of hiring you, regardless of what it may cost them. When's the last time you read a book anyway? The voice continued. And I realized that although I had just graduated with an MBA, I had not read a book cover to cover. I've done some reading to complete assignment, but reading for the purpose of getting better, that's something that was foreign to me. So I got up, I picked up a book that was assigned for class that, of course, I didn't read. It was Naked Economics, and I finished that book in 10 days, and my life has never been the same. And the reason that was a significant moment is that I realized in retrospect that what I stumbled upon on that day was the power of responsibility. The idea that regardless of who or what is to blame for our situation, it's still on us to find a response. And if, in fact, I was being discriminated against, there was nothing I could do about it. But if I wasn't good enough, then for the first time, I was in charge. I had some power, and I could start my reading. So for me, that was the hardship. And as you can hear, it's hardly a hardship in the context of what's happening in the world. But it was nonetheless a wonderful opportunity to learn this lesson about responsibility and to recognize that in the end, it's really not about taking or assigning blame, but about recognizing that it's on you to figure a way out.
Powerful. Taking responsibility. That's beautiful. All right, cool.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. And I'm over here like, oh, I found the button on the mic. Wow, that's amazing. It's such an introspective comment, honestly. But I guess mine's a bit more simple than that. I graduated here from Wingate last year, and I had credits coming in, so it only took me 3 years to finish. And for me personally, it was amazing, except it also put me in this spot where I had to make a very quick decision about what to do with my future, and it did put me in this brink of confusion where I had to come to terms with myself about my purpose and how did that affect what I was going to do with my next steps. And so for me personally, I am a religious person, and so for me, I turned to God, and I was in just deep prayer, and for me personally, I just felt that God wasn't really done with me here in Wingate, so I applied to be a resident director, and I got the job, and I applied for graduate school, and I got the job, and so for me, it was just kind of that, okay, like, Lord, I feel like when one door closes, another opens, and for me, Wingate was my door that opened.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So at that moment, it taught you to kind of like turn your attention to your Lord, right? And that's very powerful, right? Victor, let's go.
So my break moment would be my first year at Wingate. When I first got here, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do exactly. I switched my major from sociology to business management, and I just really wanted to help people, but I didn't really know what to do either. I wasn't involved, and I was also a commuter, which was a big factor. I came to campus, but I was only here for like maybe 4 hours each day, which kind of made it hard for me to connect with everybody here or get to know, anybody that was just around me. So I wasn't really involved like how I am now, which is something that switched up. So I decided to live on campus my sophomore year, which kind of changed everything. My first semester living here was kind of different. It was hard, so I was kind of living like a first year student in college again. So I would say that would be my break moment because I was also on the verge of like, should I leave Wingate and go find something else? But then I was like, okay, let me just try this out, see how it works. And I'm here to see now. I graduated early, so it makes up for everything. But yeah, I just feel like that motivated me a lot, and being involved also helped me be more, ambitious to what I want to do later on. And it was really hard for me. It was a hard process, especially my second year in college. Instead of it being the first year where I get to experience all this, I experienced everything later on. And it was tough, but I'm here now.
Wow, that's also powerful. Your message, that aligning tone that I'm getting consistently is connection, right? So I want you to kind of like share with the audience, what are some mentors that you connected with here on Wingate University campus? And what practical step can you give any person as to how they can connect with other mentors to help them in their purpose journey or their college journey?
So 2 mentors I'd say that really helped me a lot. First being my advisor, Dr. Anderson. She was the first person to hear what I wanted to do, why I switched my major. She gave me advice on what I should do. I gave her headaches pretty much. But she taught me, I guess she gave me lessons on like why I want to do what I want to do, like choosing exactly what's right for me. And although sometimes I look the other way and be like, I want to do this instead, she just kind of like keep me on the straight path. Another mentor I'd say is Dr. Brown. He has a big heart, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't see in him. And, I admire him as a leader, as a president of this university. He sees and listens to everybody that comes to him. So, just getting to encounter him and getting to talk to him and being around him, especially because I was his teacher assistant when his presidential bachelor's class.
what you are saying is absolutely true. Dr. Brown, for instance, is such an incredible person. I had him on the podcast last semester. Awesome, such an incredible person. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but yesterday I recorded an episode with Dr. Henderson, and she told me that when you graduate, she's gonna cry. So she really, yeah. So that's so true. That's very beautiful. Brooklyn, in that break moment, in that tough moment, right? What were some routines or habits that you were doing in that period that helped you to kind of cope?
Yeah, so for me personally, when I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed, a really good run makes me feel 100 times better. So personally, I would just run till I feel better, and just turning to exercise in a way that just runs the stress out, runs the madness out. It just totally affected my life and it turned it around for good. I'm not really a run in the cold type of person, so I'm really happy that my BRINK moment happened in the springtime. But that, and then as well, as I said, I am religious, so I was just reading my Bible and praying multiple times a day. Just whenever I felt stress come on and anxiety come on about just crossing that stage, I would just pray to the Lord, like, just show me where you want me to go, and I'll follow. Just to go with everything.
Beautiful. All right, Junior, at that moment where you were going through the difficulty of not finding a job, right? I'm sure you were kind of motivated one way or the other. After college, I'm going to get this job, I'm going to get this thing that I'm looking for. So when the motivation faded, how were you sustaining yourself in that moment? Because it's really tough.
Yeah, the answer to that question I didn't find in that period. I found much later in life. This idea of motivation. I think for me, what I understand and what I recognize now is it's really all a big exercise of energy management. When you are motivated, you are energized. When you are energized, you have this sense of willpower, the ability to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, but you know you have to do. And when your energy is low, willpower dwindles, and your ability to follow through on the commitments and the goals and the things that you set for yourself also dwindle. So if you understand that in the end it's really about energy, then you start looking at it differently. So for me now, it's all about energy management. So every decision we make starts our energy. From the big decision like, what should I do in my life? To the smallest one like, what should I wear this morning or what should I eat for breakfast? And there's study around this whole energy equation. But the gist of it is, if it's truly about energy management, then you need to figure out ways to conserve that energy. A lot of people, and one of the big ways to really not use up too much of that energy is building habits, right? Because once something becomes a habit, it requires less of your energy and less of your willpower for you to follow through. When you build the process, when you build the systems, it means that the decisions that you would normally dwell on a daily basis have already been made in the past. Now we just have to follow that process. If you understand that it's really just about energy management, then you need to understand what a bad night's sleep will do to your motivation, to your willpower. Sometimes you wake up and you don't follow through on your commitment and you beat yourself down and you forget that you want to sleep at 3 a.m. And really there's nothing more dramatic about today than the fact that you didn't check your to-do list, but the fact that you're tired, right? So it's really just that. So then if you do something that you love, usually that gives you energy. If you do something purposefully, that gives you energy. If you look after yourself, that gives you energy. If you develop habits, you use less of your energy, and if you build systems, you use less of your energy. So turn the whole motivation game into an energy management game, and for me, it doesn't solve it all, but at least it brings awareness to the pieces of that whole process within my control.
Beautiful. I want us to go through the last set of questions.
So like, I might as well be speaking gibberish right now. Might as well be speaking Korean, right? For some people in here, right? But if you were to like come talk to me afterwards, like I want to make you feel heard. I want to make you feel seen. I want to make you feel as if, okay, I felt that girl, that she cared for me. That's how I like to be remembered, as someone who cared when you spoke to them, heard your words, and just really saw you as a person.
Beautiful. Victor, one of the ways that as individuals we tend to grow is by kind of things that we consume, right? So consumption, not just food, but books and other things. So I want you to give a recommendation of one book to the audience that you think is powerful.
So there's one book that I've been reading. I'm not done with it yet, but Dr. Brown actually read this book, and he quoted me in one of the, I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but one chapter he mentioned about taking risks. But this book's about happiness, and it's by Arthur C. Brooks and Oprah Winfrey. Arthur C. Brooks is a professor at Harvard University. Sorry, I'm not going to blame, but it tells you about happiness and the true meaning of happiness in your life. And you can go 80 years of living, and maybe only 10 years of that will make you make you happy or whatever. But it's called Build a Life You Want by Arthur C. Brooks and Oprah Winfrey. I highly recommend it. You guys should totally read it.
Wow. Build a life you want. Junior, last question for the day. Based on all the information that you've consumed in your lifetime, right? If you are given 30 seconds to give one message to the audience, everything that you've learned from books to podcasts to videos, everything, lectures, everything, in 30 seconds, you want to leave a message with the world, what would that message be?
I think there is a sense of angst that comes with being a sense of wanting to accomplish things and do things, but whenever you talk to someone who's older than you, the advice is always some version of slow down, smell the flowers, everything's gonna be okay, take some risk. So I think my advice really would be to seek more of those people that have years and years and years of experience. You hear people talk about speaking to your grandparents and asking them about their lives and the things that they wish they had done differently and the kind of regrets that they may have and what made them proud. And now that they are 9-year-olds, what matters to them? And I think in those conversations, you get a sense that so much of your angst as a young person is self-imposed, and life doesn't have to be lived that way. And it doesn't have to be an old person. Sometimes somebody who's just 2 years ahead of you can be the person to provide advice. So I guess the advice is seek out people that have some lived experience and follow their advice.
That's so powerful. I call those people elders, right? Because usually, even if they don't have anything to give you, they have experience. They can make you escape a mistake ahead of you that you're not aware of. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Can we give them a- Hello. Before we have our next keynote, I would like to say something little about him. So, I've had the privilege of meeting him twice. The first time, he invited me to his home to record a podcast episode with him. And today is the second time he drove all the way from South Carolina to this place to share his story with us. really pay close attention to what he shares because it's very valuable. With a round of applause, let's invite Mr. Jeffrey Asiedu.
Good evening. How's everyone doing today? Awesome, awesome. Thank you guys for this opportunity to stand before you to share a little bit about myself and my story with you. My journey has really been an unconventional journey. It's been a journey that has been filled with the help of God. So I'd like to also share that, of course, my faith plays a big role in how I live my life. And years ago, as someone who stood behind the bank counter as a teller, I never imagined that from there I'll be transitioning into a commercial real estate investor or a franchisee operator here in the Carolinas, right? But the beautiful thing is the journey that I had to go through. I was in school just like you guys, but I was a teller working from 9 to 5, and then from there, I'll go to Hunter College in New York City from 6 p.m. to about 10, and that went on for several years. And through that, what it did for me was it gave me the opportunity to learn how to deal with customers. It gave me the opportunity to understand money from a different prism. It gave me the opportunity to relate with people on a day-to-day basis. And it is important because as you journey through life, every encounter you have, every experience you have is shaping what you're going to become down the line. I didn't know that while I was working as a teller, those skills that I learned will eventually play a role in my franchise business, selling ice cream, dealing with customers, relating with customers, growing a business. But those foundational skills played a key role in what I ended up eventually becoming. From being a teller, I transitioned into my corporate role with JP Morgan Chase as a compliance specialist within financial crimes compliance. And in that role, I was able to look into financial crimes. I was able to understand the flow of money, how people utilize dubious means to conduct illicit activities. And through that, just by being able to understand the flow of money, that helped in how I conduct business on my day-to-day, right? So the life journey that you're sitting here, you're probably thinking about the long haul, but I want you to truly focus on the journey. The journey is far more important. The lessons within the journey is what's going to shape your life, right? As young people, myself included, we have so much anxiety and we're so anxious about what the future holds, right? And sometimes it doesn't give us the opportunity to truly enjoy the journey of life, right? So our focus should be on the journey. What lessons are we learning, right? Even at the ice cream shop, when I'm talking to my employees, I'm engaging them that, hey, the skills you're learning here today is building you up for what's ahead of you, right? So take everything that you do with great zeal and integrity, right? The Bible says that whatever your hands finds to do, do it with all your might. And I believe that wholeheartedly. When I was working as a sales associate at JCPenney, I was the best sales associate there in the shoe department because I took my job serious. There was referrals that came from just how I made someone feel, right? And all those skills have translated to who and what I am doing today. I am in the people business. I believe that I'm in the people business. You may ask how. Even in real estate, I'm dealing with people, right? I'm trying to ensure that what I would want in a unit, what I would want in a commercial strip, I ensure that my tenants have those same benefits, right? If they give me a call at night that the roof is leaking, I want to ensure that if I was in that predicament, I wouldn't want to deal with that, so I don't want them to deal with the same thing. So I'm in the people business, and because of that, in my day-to-day, I do my best to make sure that I make everyone feel seen, I make everyone feel heard. Through the life journey, I believe that you develop skills that helps in shaping everything you want to be able to do. Your focus should be on creating opportunities. Your focus should be on the long-term plans and not on your immediate satisfaction, right? And in discovering your why, mine came from the idea of impacting people. Mine came from the idea of creating opportunities for others. Mine came from the idea of ownership. But in discovering yours, it's important to understand, what are you naturally curious about? What problems do you enjoy solving? What is the type of life you would like to build? Is it self-centered or is it people-centered? And I think as you make your life about the people around you, you come to find out that you also make money caring about people. So people should be our focus. And truth be told, right, you grow through what you go through. And what you're going through now, or whatever chapter you're facing now, is just part of the journey. Enjoy the process. Grow through it. Enjoy it, because a time is going to come, you're going to reflect back to these moments and wish you would have done so much more. Sometimes I look back to my college days and I'm like, man, I should have been more disciplined. I should have been more resourceful. I should have participated in the activities that were going on campus. But because of the path I chose, which is not bad, right? I was still able to get a job and do everything and gain all these successes, but I missed out on the community aspect, right? So I believe that while you're here, make the best of it. And I'll leave you with this, because this is what has been the guiding principle of my life, right? I believe in stewardship, and I believe that we're all here on earth, and we've been entrusted with a responsibility. You may have one, I may have 3, someone else may have 5, but don't do nothing with the one because you feel like you don't have enough. We are all entrusted with something to build on, to grow, so that we can be entrusted with more. And the more you appreciate what you currently have, the more you work on what you currently have, the more you grow what you currently have, it gives the man upstairs the opportunity to say, I can entrust you with more. And because of that, I believe God is entrusting us with more to be able to impact and build. So your why usually sits at the intersections of 3 things. What are you naturally curious about? What problems you enjoy solving? And the type of life you want to build. And I believe if you're able to answer these questions, your why does not become something that you're constantly letting it stress you out, but you enjoy the journey. And once you're able to actually get to that solution of what your why truly is, you live a more meaningful and purposeful life. But through it all, I want you to enjoy the journey. I'm still at a phase of figuring out my why, only because to me, yes, I've been able to achieve a lot. Yes, I've been able to impact people, right? But I still have so many years ahead of me, and there's so much for me to do. But I'm not stressed by it. I'm only taking it day by day. And it's important that every day you do what is important to move to the next day, do what is important, and those things compound over time. And by the time you get to the end of the life journey, you can look back at it and know that indeed you lived a life filled with meaning and great purpose. So I'll leave you with this. Try things. Pay attention to what energizes you, and be willing to pivot. It's okay, I changed my major like 4 times while I was in school. How many people have changed your major several times? I'm alone? Oh, okay, I got one person here, great, right? It's okay to pivot, right? My life has been nothing but pivoting from one thing to the other. But through it all, just enjoy that journey and enjoy that process. And I believe at the end of it, you will find true fulfillment. Don't let life overwhelm you. Don't let anxiety creep on you. Anxiety is something that if you think beyond what today holds, it's just going to cripple you. Take it day by day. Believe in the vision and the plans for the day. Do your best to do what you have to do for the day. And I believe that clarity comes with time. Thank you guys so much.
The journey is more important than the destination, right? So enjoy the journey, go through the journey. Even if you don't understand certain things, even if you don't know certain things, enjoy the journey. Before our final keynote speaker comes and then we wrap everything up, I would like to sincerely honor the special guest that I invited from Mrs. Kim Ormiston to my philosophy professor, Dr. Troy Polidori, to my former boss, Ms. Rachel and her fiancé, to all the panelists, to all the keynotes, and to every one of you, thank you so much for making it. I would like to introduce our final guest, or our final keynote this way. There are some people that you meet in your life where you ask yourself this question: where have you been all this while? Right? So for my first year and a half here at Wingate, I didn't get the opportunity to meet her. Just last semester till now, the kind of impact that she has made on me is so profound. And I know that whatever she shares with us tonight is going to be something valuable to help you as you navigate your journey of purpose, right? So ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, let's invite Dr. Terese J. Lund.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be with you all here tonight. Again, I'm Dr. Terese Lund. I'm a professor of psychology here at Wingate, and I also work out of the Office of the Provost as Associate Vice Provost for Purposeful Pathways. I'm also a scholar of purpose formation, a research focus that sharpened once data from my studies revealed that when young people have a sense of purpose, they tend to thrive across a number of outcomes and indicators. They're happier, they're healthier, they have more meaningful relationships, and they're more likely to be resilient. When the going gets tough, they keep going. Because when you have your why, you can accomplish almost any what, no matter the how. But as the benefits of purpose, the research on it has increased, so has the public discourse and interest in this concept. And one thing I notice is that when folks talk about purpose, they often talk about it as something that you're supposed to suddenly discover. You have an aha, a eureka moment, like a lightning bolt. But after more than 15 years of studying purpose, I've learned that purpose rarely shows up that way. Purpose is formed. It is not found. It is built, as Jeffrey noted, day by day. It gradually develops through experiences, relationships, and reflection. In the research literature, developmental psychologist Bill Damon from Stanford University defines purpose as a stable, generalized intention to accomplish something that is meaningful to the self, but also consequential to the world beyond the self. There's two parts of that definition that matter a lot. That your purpose is something that matters to you, that excites you, that animates you, that gets you fired up, that aligns with your values. But it's also bigger than you. It involves how you contribute to others and make a difference in the world. In other words, your purpose sits at the intersection of what deeply matters to you and what you will contribute to the world. This idea has been described in different ways from different traditions, and one of my favorite descriptions was referenced earlier in thinking about vocation. That your vocation or your purpose, again, has those two parts, where your deep gladness and the world's hunger meet. That idea is powerful because it reminds us that our purpose is not just what makes us happy, but it's how our gifts, our skills, and our dispositions meet the world's needs. And that brings up a few myths around purpose that I want to dispel, some that Dr. Sammons actually paved the way for earlier. Purpose is not the same as your job. Often folks conflate those things. People say, find your purpose, and it will tell you what career to choose. But purpose is not what you do, it's why you do it. Think, for example, about a doctor who goes into medicine for reasons around self-enhancement. They want a job that sounds great at cocktail parties, and they want a big bank account and a fast car. Now consider another doctor who goes into the field of medicine because he cares deeply about communities that lack resources and adequate health care. Same job, but very different purpose. And your purpose also can show up in many different ways over the course of your life, your career, your relationships, the way you connect with community, and the causes that you care about. Second, purpose is more than passion. I'm sure many of you have heard the advice, find your passion, follow your passion. Raise your hand if you've heard that. Ignore it. It's bad advice. Because passion alone is not enough. If we chase what only makes us feel excited or makes us feel happy in the moment, it actually can lead to disappointment. When our focus is only on our own self-fulfillment and our own happiness, we end up constantly comparing ourselves to others, looking around at our friends who suddenly feel like foes. People feel more successful than us. They look more fulfilled, more passionate. They look like they're leading better lives. And comparison is the thief of joy. Purpose works differently than passion. Research shows that when young people have a sense of purpose, when they see that their lives are contributing to something beyond themselves, when their interests, values, skills connect together, they are more likely to experience all of those benefits I identified earlier. They're happier, they're healthier, and they're more resistant to social comparison. So purpose is not just what do I love or what makes me happy. It's also what can I contribute and who might benefit from the skills and gifts that I've cultivated. We know that our purpose grows where our meaning and our skills and passions and contribution meet. Now the good news is that your purpose is a lifelong journey. It's not something you're supposed to have figured out at 18, 20, or even 30. Again, it is something that's going to develop over time through experiences, relationships, reflection, and often even failure. And as one of the old people that Junior mentioned before, I have some lessons to share with you. As an elder, as Godbless mentioned, I have some lessons from the research that I have done on purpose that I'd like you to learn and listen to today. I'm going to invite you to reflect as I talk about these lessons. First, relationships matter. Something that Dr. Sammons ended his talk with. That while your purpose is personal, it happens in connection. One of the most consistent findings in research is that purpose grows in relationships. When I talk to young students or when I analyze my data, what I always see is that relationships are powerful. Sometimes it's a mentor. Sometimes it's a faculty person, your advisor, a coach, a supervisor, or even a friend who saw something in you that you didn't quite see yourself. We know that relationships reveal things in us. They expose us to new ideas, new values, and new ways of contributing. They often give us the confidence to try something we might not have tried on our own. In fact, studies show that the students with the strongest sense of purpose in college are the ones who had mentors who supported them and encouraged them. So now I'm going to pause, and I'm going to ask you to talk to one another after you reflect. Discuss or think about someone who has influenced the way you think about your future or what matters to you. Who is that person who has helped you or will continue to help you? Go ahead and reflect for 20 seconds. I expect you to turn and talk to your neighbor. This is the professor who will be talking. Go ahead, Jane. Thank you to folks who were able to share with the neighbor. Thank you to folks who considered that question internally. Our mentors and people are critical. I was one of those folks who changed my major multiple times, 5 times in fact. And the only way I settled on psychology is I had a faculty person pull me aside one day and quite frankly say right in my face, "What are you doing?" To her I said, "I'm going to the caf." She said, "No, what are you doing? You've changed your major so many times. 5 times in 3 semesters. What are you doing?" She saw that I was interested in statistics and was interested in psychology, and so she connected me with her research lab. She saw something in me that was a critical pivot point or break moment in my life. So relationships matter. Nurture them. Cultivate them. Next, I want you to explore new things. Exploration is essential. It is required. It is not optional. Many students have the pressure around them, and I'm sure many of you have felt this in the room, to have everything figured out, to have all the good answers to the question, why are you going to college? What are you going to major in? What kind of job can you get with that major? Are you going to live in North Carolina? What are you going to do the rest of your life? It often feels good to have answers to those questions. But what we know from research is that the young people who are often the most unclear end up with better answers in the long run because they explore, they are curious, and they don't feel pressured to declare something that's not a perfect fit. This means getting out of your comfort zone, trying different experiences, exploring different interests, and testing different roles. That might mean an internship, like Dr. Sammons mentioned before, research, service, or connecting with folks who are different than you. Exploration gives you data. It lets you know what energizes you, what excites you, what problems do you actually care about, and what work feels meaningful to you. In fact, some of the students, again, that I have studied in my research, the ones who had 0 answers to those tough questions, at the end had the most concrete and solid answers. They took the time to explore, and they embraced the journey. The third lesson I have is don't be afraid to fail. We've heard that a couple of times here today. This one might be the most uncomfortable one yet. But failure is essential. Again, it is not something you can skip or forego. Often we look at how purpose is formed over time, not an aha eureka moment. It is formed through a non-linear journey, stops and starts. But I implore you to see that path you're on, not filled with roadblocks, towards and what is no longer serving you. It is clarifying. So switching your major, leaving a job that's not a good fit, discovering that something you thought you were going to do your entire life, like be a nurse, actually isn't the right path for you. That is not a sign of failure. That's actually a sign of new possibilities. Embrace them. All failure is more information. It is not a setback to be overcome, but it is an opportunity to use information and refine your new direction. So I'm going to ask you to turn and talk again. Share with your neighbor, we're going to be vulnerable here, a time where things didn't go as expected. What did that moment tell you about yourself? Things didn't go as expected. You didn't get the grade you wanted, the major you thought you had wasn't a good fit, the job you thought you loved is actually terrible. With the folks around you, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Go ahead and talk. Now, I've heard a lot of good chatter and rumblings, and I know you were all talking about those pivot moments, those break moments, those setbacks, and not other things. What I'm taking from the din of noise is that all of us have encountered these things. So let's drop the veneer of perfection, that we're supposed to have everything figured out, and let's embrace those moments, again, not as obstacles that we need to navigate around, but opportunities that will propel us forward. The last lesson, be the change you hope to see. You often hear a phrase like that tossed around, and it sounds silly sometimes, even trite. But this final lesson is most connected with purpose when we think about its true essence. Your purpose involves contribution. It's not just about what makes you happy or what makes you successful. It's how you make a difference. For you to develop a strong sense of purpose, again, you need to be asking these questions. What problems do I care about? What communities do I care about? And where could my talents, skills, and gifts make a difference? We all have indispensable gifts that we can use to read the world and make the world anew. In many studies, we know that when young people start leveraging their skills and gifts, meaning they're spending time and energy solving problems that they deeply care about, they thrive. They do better in the classroom, they're more connected to their friends, and they're happier and they're healthier. Now, this doesn't have to be something grand, like Save the Whales or End World Hunger, something you would see on a bumper sticker. It means doing things to help others around you. It could be helping a friend. It could be volunteering. One day, one dog is coming up. It could be improving systems or solving problems. But it is personal to you, how you want to make a contribution. Again, it doesn't have to be grand or global. It just has to be connected to you and your indispensable gifts. So in closing, I want to share that after 15 years of studying purpose as an elder, as one of the older individuals in the room, here is what I've learned. Don't expect your purpose to suddenly appear to you. Don't expect that lightning bolt, that eureka moment. Your purpose is cultivated over time. It is a process. It is formed, not found. And it grows when we are connected to others. Relationships matter. They shape our thinking, they encourage us, they help us amplify our skills and gifts. Exploration is critical. It's a requirement, in fact. Try new things. You learn about yourself and you learn about the world. Even if you try things and again fail, that's a good thing. You've learned about yourself and you've learned about what you're not meant to do. Be resilient. Understand that those obstacles, again, aren't roadblocks, but a necessary part of the journey, and contribute to others. Don't focus and chase happiness. You will end up unhappy. Connecting to others is what gives purpose its superpower. Now, if you're still figuring out what your sense of purpose is, fortunately, we've had great conversation here tonight that should get you starting asking those critical questions. And it's not a problem that you don't have an answer right now. It's expected. You shouldn't have it fully formed today. It will grow over time. And the good news is, you can start that process today. Every conversation, every interaction, every opportunity is a time to get more data on yourself and better understand who you're meant to be in this world. So start asking questions, learn to fail, and foster relationships that encourage you. And do that today. Thank you.
You see why I tell you the kind of impact that she has made in my life? That was so powerful. So she said, relationships, don't be afraid to fail. And lastly, be the change that you want to see, right? I want us to wrap everything up and close it all. But before that, for a Lyceum participation, take 30 seconds to fill out this form, just 30 seconds. Pull out your phone, scan the QR code, and then complete it. While you are doing that, I would like us to close with a closing remarks from Mrs. Kim Ormiston, but I would like to greatly appreciate you guys for making it today. There are days that, will be memorable in our lives, and I think this day happens to be one of them in my life. I really appreciate you guys for making it. All the guests, all the speakers, the panel, awesome. Thank you guys so much. With a round of applause, let's welcome Mrs. Kim Ormiston. And by the way, there are snacks outside, and there's water and everything. So when you are done, you can make yourself comfortable. Thank you.
As we wrap up this evening, we want to thank each of you for making the choice to attend this summit. Some final thoughts as we've heard powerful and encouraging insights into the experiences of the panel members and the speakers here today. They have shared how they are living their life's purpose and their why, whether through struggles or with ease. And I can assure you that they are not here just because they always had all of the answers or they made all of the right choices all of the time. They are here in part because they said yes to taking the next step along their individual journey. You have your choices to make to write your story. The choices you continue to make from this moment on will determine the path you take on your journey of living your why. As you leave the summit this evening, we encourage you to think about your purpose and your passions together that are innate and specific to only you. And we hope that you say yes to your next step. We hope that you move forward without fear, but with intention. And we hope that you share with others your life's purpose and your why. Over your lifetime, you will make meaningful connections through shared passions and find personal clarity of your goals and ambitions through sharing your purpose. Go out and intentionally live your purpose. Thank you and have a good evening.
That's it. So you can help yourself outside with this nice movie. Thank you so much.